And also we talked about, we understood social ecological system as a complex adaptive system. So the complex adaptive system is also a worldview which suggests that systems are constituted not only by parts and mechanical kinds of interactions, but that they come about as the result of relations and organizational processes that constitute elements and their interactions. And particularly, it is applicable to the living systems. For example, social systems, human systems, or ecological systems can be considered as living systems, which come about and behave in ways that are the result of underlying, emergent, and complex sets of causal relations or cause-effect relations and organizational patterns. Okay, so it becomes clear that the essential properties of living systems are properties of the whole. So that is the basically the idea. And thus, the properties of the whole can never be segregated from the properties of the elements or the parts, or interrelationships between the elements or parts. So as we were discussing yesterday about the body, or for example, say the immune system is a very good example of the complex adaptive system in ACS. And this immune system, you cannot discern it into different states. The immune system is a good example that we cannot extract it from the body or analyze it under a microscope, because it does not exist in one particular organ, but is a systemic property of the interactions of various organs and also processes and also body functions. Then we derived various principles and characteristics of SCS as a complex adaptive system. So also I would like to give a bit stress on the term adaptive. Why it is adaptive? Because if any kind of interactions occur from outside or internally within the system, then the system elements have the capacities to self-organize and co-evolve. For example, in the social ecological system, if any kind of disturbances, I will be coming to examples later on. Just first to recapitulate the things and also try to learn it a bit deeper. So so they have the capacity. So the elements of the system or the parts of the system have the capacity to self-organize, because if disturbance occurs at one end or at one part, then of course other parts will be affected functionally, and then they will try to behave in a different way so that the system still functions as a whole. So there is a continuous process and strive for self-organizing under the circumstances of various sudden disturbances or interruptions. And that's at the end of it, either the system will turn into a new system after being adaptive to the disturbance or after overcoming the disturbance, or the system can retain its earlier characteristic or earlier functionality. So it is very much adaptive. It can adapt or adjust to the circumstances or the contextual changes. In the previous class, we were also trying to talk about the contexts which influence the systems. So the contexts are the historical processes, and the contexts are very changing. This context actually provides a platform or a terrain or a set on which the systems operate. So the context will always be changing, right? For example, a rural area will be, gradually turning into some sort of a township, or some changes will occur in the setup of the rural region. Okay, maybe some kind of developments, so-called developments would occur in the rural region. Some sort of, transformations occurred. Some sort of industrial, settings developed in the rural region. So the context will change. or the rural people or the villagers are engaged in different types of activities which they didn't do earlier. So the contexts may shift. So within the shifting context, the system will adapt and adjust and also co-evolve. For example, in the social ecological system, if the ecological subsystem has to change or adjust, then of course that will influence the adjustments of the social system, and this actually makes the holistic characteristics of these two systems, and these link these two systems. And we were discussing about the complex causality and emergence. The cause and effect interactions are not going in a very linear way, but it is marked by complexity, and very much recursive causal pathways are there, and it is very much dynamic. So we were trying to talk about these things in the earlier class. If you have any questions, if you still have any comments or some thoughts to express, you can still do that. And if not, then Shorodip, can we go to the 10th slide?
Okay, sure.
Ma'am, this.
Yep, please go on.
Ma'am, the adaptive characteristic which you were talking about.
Yeah.
It is very much similar to the definition of resilience in ecology.
Yes, I'm not going into resilience. Yes, please go on.
So, I mean, I just wanted to know, is there something, some difference between these two? Or, like, is resilience a much broader topic or
yes
something?
Yes, thank you, Roshan, for asking this
What
questions.
else comes there?
Yes. Basically, resilience, the concept resilience actually is linked with the SES concept. And resilience this class will be taken by Shreyoshi. I think it will start tomorrow. And the resilience concept basically emerges from this adjustment capacity or coping capacity of the systems to, co-evolve or to function together. Okay. And also there are many angles of resilience. Resilience has a political angle too. How the resilience, the term sustainability have come into the academia for various political reasons. So I'm not going into that. But yes, the resilience concept basically talks about how a system or a system which is combined or constitutive of some subsystems are basically adaptive, and they cope with the impending challenges, and thus a sort of internal resiliency is there, through which the system will still function after every sort of emergencies or every sort of disturbances. The system will persist, the system will cope with all the challenges. So that is the idea of resilience. And also this idea is used in various other aspects like community resilience, cultural resilience, etc. So it is coming from the social ecological system perspective. And I will be briefly talking about some framework, like the Panarchy framework is there. I have used it here also. I'll be coming to that. So the Panarchy framework is actually the resilience framework, means that in the resilience research or in the SES research, the Panarchy framework is used in both the research, and it actually denotes to the complex adaptive cycle. Okay, so the cyclic way of adjustments within the system. Okay, so basically these complex adaptive systems and complex adaptive cycles are very much unique characteristic which actually made this social ecological system different from other systems, right? Because environment or ecology and human being have always tried to cope with the challenges. If you just give it a different look, if you just analyze it distinctively, then you will see that human beings have tried to cope with different sort of challenges. So in recent times, the challenges have increased. There are cyclones, there are environmental pollution, river siltation, groundwater depletion, so many sort of challenges. In urban context, there are lots of challenges. Waste, unmanaged dumping of wastes, then residential segregation, so many challenges are there. And people as well as the environment, both in the rural context and urban context, and the integrated contexts, rural urban contexts, people are basically dealing with these challenges, right? So not only people, the ecological setup, the ecological elements also have to function within these challenges, and they are either overcoming it or they're adjusting to it. So that is the idea of resiliency. Okay, so Shreyasi will be delving deeper into this idea and carry forward this particular resilience research aspects. Okay, so can you see this diagram here? Everybody can see it. Shorodip, can you make it a full screen? Like here at the bottom, you can click on that.
Yes, sure.
Yes. Can everybody see it? Please observe it very carefully. I would like to ask you what you are observing, what you can see here. Okay, please do that. Everybody, I would request you to observe it carefully, what you can see in this image or what your interpretation is from this image. And please raise your hands if you are prepared.
Ma'am, it's not full screen, I think.
Yes. Shorodip will be trying. Maybe Shorodip, you can just drag the zoom line bottom at the right hand of the bottom. It is 66%. You can just turn it into 100%.
Okay. Hello, Roktimadi.
Yes, Shorodip.
Is it full screen from my end? I don't know why
Yes,
it
I
is
can
not
understand.
appearing there.
So this problem is not only occurring with me, but also I think many people, because Google Meet is something which is
I'm doing
complicating
it.
things.
I'm doing it again, and please let me inform whether it is appearing or not. Okay.
Hmm, 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 hmm. Uh, there is no scope for the students to zoom in from their end, right? I don't think so. Okay, so what you can do is, Shorodip, or I can also do that. Let me check. I can send this particular image in a chat box. Can I do that? Otherwise, they will not be able to read it.
Is it appearing as magnified?
Yes, a bit. I think it came to 100%. So is it now visible, students? To an extent, it is visible. Or I think you can also zoom in a bit. Some
Okay, sure.
110% would be better, I guess. Yes. Okay, in the meantime, if you have any reflections, if you have any thoughts, you can share. It would be great to know what you are thinking. Please don't be silent. Any thoughts, any if you want to oppose some context or concept, you can also do that. Anything.
Ma'am, it's a beach in an isometric view.
Yes,
Ma'am,
Srikant?
it
Yeah,
looks like a C in an isometric view.
it looks like a sea in an isolated beach. Okay. And
No,
then,
no, in an isometric view.
okay, okay. Anyone else? Yes, Shorodit, thanks a lot. Yes, now, anybody else? What can you see here? Just a very, informal kind of observation. You can give it to it. What can
I
you
think they
see here?
assume, I think they have assumed the sea as flat.
Okay, the sea is flat. But I would like you to do, observe what is going on there, or what are going on there, and why is it so.
Ma'am, like we have taken a part of a particular place,
Mm-hmm.
and then we are portraying the various dynamic activities which are going on. Like there is fishing going on from that ship, a person is swimming
Hmm.
down the sea, and at that side, some people are enjoying, like a group of
Hmm.
2 or 3 people, they're enjoying themselves.
Hmm.
Someone is resting on the beach, so like it portrays
Right.
the dynamic activities that's going on.
Thank you, Koshiki. So, if anybody else would like to reflect, any final thoughts?
Ma'am, it's like showing what are the activities happening inside the sea versus outside the sea in one
Mm-hmm.
perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So thank you everyone for your thoughts and what you have observed. You have nicely put it. So yeah, now I can see there is a land and there is a sea, and some people are dependent on the sea. Some people are, diving deep to, observe some corals there. Maybe the scuba diver, and then I can see a motorized trawler fishing. I can see some people having leisure in the beach, and also some sort of area which is guarded or which is bound. Maybe some sort of fish landing thing would happen. And there are some sort of, houses. There is a tall building. Also there are some small huts at the right side, and some cultivation is going on, agricultural activities is going on at the right side. And also I can see a mangrove system. Mangrove plants have grown there at the very right side of the picture. So mangrove have long roots, stilt roots, buttress roots, so I can see that. So mangrove community has grown there. So many things are, dependent or interdependent, maybe dependent to one another in this part, in this section. So here I can see also the human system. Then I can see some sort of a biotic system. There is water also. There is part of land, and there is, ecological system. In that there are corals. There is a flock of fish. There are mangroves. And you can see that depending on this part of the coast or depending on this tract of the coast, so many activities are going on. People are cultivating rice somewhere because this is a very fertile area. Mangroves have grown because this particular tract is suitable for their growth. People are having leisure because this sort of relaxation or this sort of cultural attachment they always do beside the beach. And also there are motorized trawlers, and also beside that there is a small traditional boat I can see. They're all fishing in a different way. So first of all, this fishing activity is itself a very, integrated in nature. It integrates or it links up the human system or living system with that of the ecological system, or I can put it the social system with that of the ecological system. So I can see a holistic social ecological system here, where the ecology is somehow dependent on human actions and the human beings are dependent on the ecology. You cannot separate it. Some fishermen are very much dependent on the flock of fish or the stock of fish, which earn them their livelihoods, or which determines the food security of the entire state or the entire country. So their lives, their livelihoods are dependent on the ecology or ecosystem in one way or the other. And there are many examples of this. Yesterday, I was talking about the river as an ecological system. I was only talking about an ecological system. But if you can think that how many livelihood activities are going on based on the river. So is the river only an ecological system or social ecological system? The river-based activities such as fishing, such as various cultural activities are going on, and also agriculture is going on based on the river. Entire civilization of India or the greater India have only developed because of the rivers, based on the rivers. So river cannot be identified solely as an ecological system or a living system, because there are various organisms within the river, or fish there is within the river. But it is a social ecological system where there are the living subsystem. By living subsystem, I mean all the biotic components like plants, microorganisms, animals, etc., as well as human being. And there is the ecological subsystem. Okay. So within the ecological subsystem, we will take the entire ecology, including the land, including the sea, etc. Okay. So how the social ecological system are linked to and dependent on one another. You cannot define the entire picture by the functions of only one element. Rather, it is, it should be defined, it should be described by the interrelated functions between the social system and ecological systems. Yes, Snigdho has written here, interface of land ecology and sea ecology is demonstrated. There is a mutual dependency of various systems and interrelation of various ecosystems is depicted. We cannot separate one ecosystem from another. Yes. And the junction of this ecosystem is definitely magnificent to observe and appreciate. Very well written, Snigdho. Absolutely so. So if we can say the fisheries as a social ecological system, only take fisheries as a social ecological system. I told a few minutes back that there is a system within system within system. So the fisheries is a part of this entire coastal social ecological system. And the entire coastal social ecological system may be a part of the delta system or entire drainage basin system, and also the entire other broader system, and also a part of the entire earth system. So if you take fisheries as a social ecological system, then you will be seeing that many people, a large number of people, are collectively taking part in different types of fishing. And the sole concern for this activity is fish. If the fish stock declines, then their livelihood will suffer. They will suffer. So how their lives are interrelated? Can we really, differentiate between land and water, between human and non-human, between living and non-living? Can we really differentiate it? The social ecological system is basically, telling us not to differentiate the, entities of the environment or the entities of the art into distinctive, discrete components. Rather, understand it from their relationality, how they are interrelated to one another. The persons who are taking rest in the beach, that is also somehow a part of their, cultural practice, maybe not cultural practice, I would say that it is their habit. They have linked the coastal tract in that way. On the other hand, these fishermen have linked the coastal tract in a different way. It is about their livelihood. And also this fish will be going to the global market. So it's a big value chain. So how every component is dependent on one another and how they are interrelated. And it is not a very linear process. It is very much complex. Now, if cyclone occurs in this tract, these people and also these entire ecological entities like these mangroves have to deal with it. The mangroves will try to protect these people. The mangrove community will try to protect itself by their, dense thicket, by their roots. And then some sort of temporary disturbance will occur. Some trawlers will be damaged. The fish landing center will be devastated, and the corals will be affected. People will not come to beach anymore. The agricultural, sector, this part will be damaged. Maybe salt water will be invaded into the agricultural land and destroy all the crops. So if cyclone occurs, then all these things will happen. But will there be an end? All these elements will try to thrive again. The mangroves will thrive again. The people will try to, come up or, cope up with these various kinds of challenges. They will wait for the, saline water to retreat and start their agricultural activity again. In this way, the living system and the non-living system, the human and non-human, the social and ecological will co-evolve, will evolve individually as well as collectively. Okay, they will adjust together. And one's adjustment will, of course, influence others' adjustments. And thus, they are self-adjusting together in a social ecological system. Or they are co-adjusting in a social ecological system. In both ways, it is true. For example, if the fish stock decline, their livelihood will be affected, as I was telling. So they have to, their functions, of course, influence the ecological system, and the ecologies also influence their functions. So they are mutually dependent. So that is the idea of cohesiveness of social ecological system. Sholodeep, can you please move on? Sholodeep.
Yes.
Yes, so you can also zoom it out. So I have mentioned some elements of SES. Specifically, it is based on the research perspective of SES. What should we keep in mind while we talk about SES? Okay, here element means, not the components of the social ecological system, but some sort of broader parts which we need to understand in social ecological system. For example, the ecosystems, the diversity, overall ecosystem processes, ecosystem health and threats, and then people and technology. What is the social construct and processes? As you could see in the picture, there are various types of activities or processes going on. Agricultural process, fishing as a process, leisure or relaxation is also there. So it's a different kind of social construct at the coastal area. And then relations among actors, not only human actors, but also the relationship between human and non-human, like plants, fish, other animals, etc. And then differential values and conflicts. For example, if 2 or 3 trawlers come for fishing, then of course some sort of conflicts will occur. Who will, fish where? So in this way, some conflicts also can emerge within the SES. And also assets. What tools, what sort of technologies are used by people, serve his purposes within the social ecological system. Governance is very much important because social cannot be separated from the political or the governance system. where we are in, which we have ourselves developed. So governance systems, how the resources like fish, like like coastal water, like land, like these mangroves, forest, how are they governed? What are the instruments of governance? Means what are sort of the regulations? What are the legislature? Who are governing this? And by this governing process, how they are determining the resource access and how they are controlling the resources. For example, fish. If the fisheries governance, the fish is governed in such a way that for example, this particular area is fixed for trawling. This particular area is fixed for traditional boats for fishing. So in this way, governance or government can pose instruments through regulations, through various informal institutions such as norms, values, etc. They can impose onto society to regulate individuals and regulate the society, okay, and also determine the access of the resources for people. So in this way, resource governance goes on, okay, and it cannot be separated from understanding the social ecological system. If the trawler is restricted access in the marine waters, then of course that is one kind of governance instrument that is imposed through regulations. So that is also affecting or influencing his or the activity of the particular trawler community or the fisheries community. And then economy and market, of course, it is linked. All the resources, all the interdependencies, that generate some sort of resource outputs or some sort of outputs, some sort of economic outputs to be specific, and also some economic outputs or some sort of resources have the market value, and that is also far more complicated. And there are, as I was saying, institutions, local norms, values, beliefs, the informal institutions, and government jurisdictions, regulations, and legislator are formal institutions. There are also organizational rules, means, for example, a fish landing center for a particular fishers community. So within that community, some sort of individualistic rules can develop, depending on the local context, depending on the context in particular. And then local knowledge, the knowledge of the people who access the ecological system or who has relationships with the ecological system for a long time. They have shared this relationship generations after generations. And this has developed into cultural beliefs. Ecological and cosmological understanding means where will be the fish at what time, during tides, what will be the behavior of fish, how the waves or certain kinds of tidal activity or tidal process influence the stock of fish, or various behavior of particular species of fish. So all this kind of knowledge system, they attach to the immediate ecologies. So as you can see, all these elements or parts of social ecological system actually is making it complex. So actually you can see here how complexity emerges within the social ecological system itself. Governance and institutions are very much complex. So complexity is posed from different elements within the social ecological system. And to understand the social ecological system, of course, we need to look at all these elements and how they are functioning together, how the cultural beliefs are interrelated to the governance, how the local norms are interacting to the government jurisdictions, how the differentiated values and conflicts are taking shape on the common property resources or common pool resources, the resources which can be accessed by all, like marine water, like a river, like forest. So in this way, the interrelationships and interactions of all these sets of elements are actually giving rise to the complexity within the SES. Anyway, and then there are some design principles of ACS, means what kind of principles which we need to look at while talking about ACS or pursuing the ACS research. Like patterns of interaction, how they are interacting, in what way they are interacting. Is it really positive? It is really influential, or is it affecting? And then feedback. So after this interaction, what is the feedback? What is the response? Okay, so for example, if the local customary law, like I'm just using the fisheries as an example. For example, the fishing will be banned for a particular occasion, cultural tradition, for a particular time, for monsoon. So if it does not matches the regulation of government, or also there is the government's regulation on banning fisheries for a certain season, in a certain season. So how these two norms, or how these two laws, customary laws and state laws, are interacting or converging? And this convergence may generate feedback within the fishers as well as within the government. So it may turn into conflict, or it may turn into negotiation. And of course, the interdependencies, as I was talking to you about the interdependencies between, for example, the fish diversity or the resource diversity, maybe the plant diversity, and access of plants by some local communities, how they are important, interdependent to one another. And also the dynamicity, the changing contexts. Okay, for example, maybe that particular building which you saw in the previous picture photograph, that particular building was not there maybe some 10 years ago. Maybe the people who were relaxing there on the beach were not there 10 years ago. The entire setup was different, maybe. But through time, this has changed. A sort of shifts happened there. And that is also, influencing the relationships within the ACS. That particular coastal social ecological system, or fisheries social ecological system, as you can see it. And of course, adjustments. Coping with short-term coping, to deal with short-term challenges or disturbance. And also there are long-term adaptability. So everybody has to deal with that. For example, if the cyclone occurs, then it will be a short-term coping strategy for the people who will be dealing with it. But if the cyclone continues to occur frequently in the region because of the influence of climate change, then of course they have to set a strategy. They have to deal with it in an adaptive manner, because they have to thrive there. They have to survive in that particular environmental context where cyclones will frequently happen. So they will be that will be providing their strategies to adapt. Long-term adaptability or long-term adjustments have to happen there. So this should be some important principles to keep in mind while talking about or understanding ACS. And the key areas of ACS analysis where the ACS is very useful to apply: ecosystem management. Here I'm not talking about the ecosystem management which is done by government by imposing regulations or fixing boundaries. I'm talking about the ecosystem, rather co-management, where the local people who have their own knowledge system, ecological knowledge system, they take part in the management. They both the scientific knowledge, maybe some scientists or the government officials who have got some scientific knowledge can also converse with the local ecological knowledge to manage the ecologies or manage the entire social ecological system. For example, if the fish stock is declining, then if the government impose regulations that fishing should be banned, then it will be very much harmful for the fishers, because this is the SES, because fishers are dependent on the ecologies. How will they survive? But if there is a sort of balance in using the ecological knowledge to protect the fish, or to conserve the fish in their own way, which the knowledge which they have, then it can it can be by far sustainable. This particular management will go on in the long run, or this can function in the long run. It can stay for a long time. For example, in the forest, it is always viewed in this way, that the people, local communities, maybe tribal people who are dependent on the forests for their livelihoods, are disrupting the balance of the forest or damaging the forest. But how can it be true? These people have been dependent on the forest for generations after generations, and they know every name of the trees, every name of the plants. They have their own sensory perceptions. Here there is nothing, there is no place of experimentation or measurement or calculation like science does. There is a sensory perception, sense, smell, taste. So this should be understood. This ecological knowledge tells them to protect the forest on which they earn their livelihoods. So to understand this, or to carry out the ecosystem or resource management, of course, there is a need to, include all the knowledge system, because human beings are integral part of the ecology, and ecology is the integral part of the human being. And many communities who are dependent on the ecology have different knowledge system, different values, different types of attachments with the ecology in terms of livelihoods, in terms of other cultural practices. And then sustainability policy, as I was telling you, the sustainability thing, that the management should be sustainable. So what should we take into consideration? So to take these things into consideration, of course, we need to understand how the social ecological system is functioning in that particular area. And of course, the resilience assessment. If the social ecological system there is in a good condition, is it capable of adapting to itself, or adapting to the impending challenges? So the resilience assessment precedes, the SES analysis precedes the resilience assessment. Means one has to analyze the characteristics of SES in that particular area. Then they have to deal with how the capacity, or how or what kind of support can be given to the living and non-living beings there, to improve the capacity of the, or support the capacity of the SES there. So these are very much important things to note for the planners, for the users, resource users, and also the policymakers in the society. SES comes first. You know what is there. You know first how they are dependent. Then you try to support, maybe. Shorodip, can we go next? There are some frameworks of SES here. Ostrom's SES framework. Ostrom is a very important name, who have based this idea on common pool resources, which I was telling you, that the resources which is open access can be used by all. So in this common property regime, how the social ecological system can be viewed, and what kind of elements should we should we take into consideration? For example, the resource system, maybe the fisheries, and then the governance system, and then the resource units. Maybe, for example, within the fishery, there is Hilsa fishery, maybe Bombay duck fishery. So these are the units within the fishery resource system, or entire fish as a resource system. And then also we have to look at the actors who are there. There are the local fishermen, they are the small traders, maybe there are the businessmen who are linked with the trader, and there are many other small traders maybe involved within it. So who are the actors? And of course there is the government. There are the governmental actors who are determining the market rules, regulations, policies, etc., and how they are influencing the lives of the fishers. And then the frameworks of linked SES framework by Folke. There is the local ecosystem, and of course there is the management practice, and how you can see how the ecosystems are nested and how they are interacting to one another. I'm not going deeper into it. So it is basically linked with the management practices, how the SES can be viewed in the management practices of resources. Shoradeep. As I was telling you, the Panarchy framework. See how the loop has been formed. This is the complex adaptive loop, the complex adaptive system loop. Okay, so the system first tries to adjust within the elements, and then maybe the disturbance occurs, and then all the elements are trying to revolt, and then a new sort of adjustments occur, a new sort of systems occur where the elements try to function differently, and then again some sort of interruptions may occur, and the system components will try to function or deal against that, and maybe some sort of adjustments again will occur. They will overcome the disturbance or overcome the sort of challenges. And there is an important component here. Remember, see at the very top of it, remember. So it is very important thing. Remember, memory, these are very important, because people often try to adjust and cope with based on the memories they have preserved. For example, last time when the cyclone occurred, a fisherwoman tried to deal it in a particular way. Okay, so this kind of memory will be there in her mind. She will preserve it. She will remember it, and she will again try to apply it when the second cyclone will occur. So the memory of the past incidents, the memory of past adjustments, influence the system entities to adapt, to cope with or deal with various challenges. Okay, so I will be not discussing the Panarchy framework in detail, because for this to understand you have to know very well about the resilience concept, and I'm sure that Suresh will be talking about this. So after knowing about the resilience in detail, you will be able to understand what is how the Panarchy framework operates, or how the Panarchy framework is used in research, right? And then Shorodeep. Okay, so yes, some slides I have kept for just a brief glance, like how the social ecological system deals with political ecology. See, just remember the slides of the elements of SES. I kept governance there. So of course, within political ecology, we try to understand, we try to know about the functions of governance system, political economy, and local governance system. And then resilience as a part of the complex adaptive systems, and eco-cultural attributes in environmental humanities, how the cultural practices, values, religion, beliefs emerge with the interdependency between social and ecological system. How the local governance system as well as global governance system their interactions come into being, shape the ACS attributes, ACS, and then how the complex adaptive systems function within the ACS, and then the cultural attributes. So there are convergences, there are overlaps between the four conceptualizations here. Next, Shorodip. Yes. So I just kept it in this way. Are these true in ACS? As part of our discussion, ACS dissolves the binaries between social and biophysical environments or ecology, human and non-human. ACS provides an overarching knowledge base for analyzing traditional resource management systems and local level systems in the complex regions, especially in the tropics, where the complexity is by far than that of the complexities of other regions. There is a huge diversity of culture, components of the ecology, various types of landforms are there, various types of livelihoods, people are engaged in different livelihood activities, are very diverse history. So it is, of course, very complex to deal with these things or to talk about ACS in especially in the tropics. And of course, ACS facilitates knowledge co-creation and collaboration among researchers, practitioners, and stakeholders to address sustainability issues. Because ACS is very much interdisciplinary in nature. For example, that as you could see, that there is the scope for political ecology to give some inputs in ACS. There is a scope for environmental humanities to give some inputs in ACS, right? And it also integrates social sciences and natural sciences together. So of course there is a scope to knowledge co-creation. Natural scientists' knowledge will talk about the social scientists' knowledge, because it's linking the social ecological system, social and ecological systems, and thus it facilitates the collaboration among researchers to design new measures, new ways to deal with the various challenges which are very much visible in the current times. And the second point, it provides an overarching knowledge base for analyzing traditional resource management systems. I think it came out clear through my discussion how the knowledge, there are so many knowledge which actually we can take into consideration while we are talking about ACS. The local ecological knowledge, the knowledge of some outsiders who are visitors there, maybe the knowledge of the civil group organizations, the knowledge of scientists, the knowledge of policymakers. So all may differ, but they may come together while we are dealing with the resource degradation, cyclones, pollution, siltation, degradation of livelihoods because of the various sorts of challenges. For example, in agriculture, the saline water is intruding from the ocean. So how to deal with this challenge? Groundwater is depleting. So how to deal with this challenge? What should we take into consideration? So in this way, our forests, how do we deal the forest degradation these days? So we have to take into many things into consideration, and ACS provides platform for that. So if you have something to reflect on this, you can go on. If you think that this is true, you can also place your thoughts here. Shorodip, next. I'll be just, I have just kept some, reflections on methods and design of ACS research. Will not be going in detail. Okay, the ACS research mainly accepts the mixed methods approaches, where you can, of course, use the quantitative as well as qualitative methods. And if you generate the data types like empirical, field data, field-based information, or field-based narratives by applying interviews, survey procedures, dialogues, focus group discussions, that is very important for understanding or analyzing ACS. And some textual and archival data like texts, photographs, audio, and the models also can apply for ACS. Various secondary data like census data, health and demographic data, maps, etc. also can inform about ACS in a particular region. And so mixed method is quite different from that of the multi-method triangulation approach. These are various, two methodological approaches. The mixed methods study combines the quantitative and qualitative methods to analyze data and integrates these to understand and interpret a particular problem based on the combined strengths of both datasets. And multi-method triangulation refers to the approaches where insights regarding a single research problem are strategically drawn from data and findings generated using different methods. So the difference is that in the multi-method triangulation method approach, the data has already been generated by applying different methods, and then you are using the data. Okay, and in a mixed method approach, you are generating data through qualitative and quantitative methods to analyze and integrate different understandings. And pluralism refers to the use of different methods for investigating a common phenomenon from different perspectives. You can take only one phenomena within the many phenomenon, and then you can discuss through different methods. Only one single phenomenon, you can use many methods to understand, and then at the last you can integrate all your findings. So that is the pluralism. Shorodip, next. Yes, so whenever you are in field, then you can keep in mind the 5 dimensions of ACS research. The social ecological dimensions, like how the human and nature are interacting, in what way, what are the various values, how the relationships are, what are the relationships are there. Okay, so the stewardship, resource users' own perceptions, etc. And then institutional dimensions, how the government is functioning there, how they are managing the resources, so-called, in what way they are conserving the nature. Okay, are they displacing people for imposing some sort of rules in the name of conservation of nature? And then social relational dimensions means collaboration, which have an opportunity, maybe various social learning process, the power relations, asymmetrical power relations which are going on. For example, in the forest area or in the forest social ecological system, there are various power relations. Maybe within the community, there is a head or a leader or chief of the clan, and also there are the state actors or parastatal actors. So many group of actors are functioning together. So, and there is the unequal power relations or asymmetrical power relation. Okay, so we have to understand this to fully understand the complexity within the of the ACS. Yes, as Snigdha says, we can't act unless we plan and visualize, which comes through study of dedicated subjects regarding environmental consciousness. Absolutely. Visualization and planning become clear if and only if we are clear about the motive behind our actions, where ACS comes into play. It helps us to understand our current state as far as our relationship with the ecosystem is concerned. Very true. Very true. So governmental activities gives us one angle to visualize what is going on, how is going on, who are deciding what, and what are the motives, and how these are holistically changing the patterns of ACS in a particular area. And then the contextual dimension, what is the history of the region, how the region has come into being, the ACS region, the area of the study maybe, and then culture, what are the different cultural traditions, how the religion, caste, class, gender are influencing, the ACS characteristics, different knowledge systems, socioeconomic systems, and individual dimensions like identity, caste-based identity, caste-based occupation, gender identity, okay, sense of place, a sort of shared understanding of place, how we are visualizing the particular place. Maybe the fishers will answer different way, the cultivator will answer different way, businessman will answer different way, okay, a layman or the visitor, maybe a tourist will answer different way. So it's about the region, it's about the ACS of the region, and it's about the different perception and motives. Next, Shorodip. Yes. So I have kept some points which really the ACS studies need to, expand more through research, like this gender relations, kinships, class, caste, religion, and other things need more flexible integration in ACS research. So very little research has been done which include ACS and gender or class, caste, religion angles with ACS. So ACS must need, to look at all these what should I say, all these areas or domains which basically construct the society. Okay, and society is is an integral part of the ACS, so we must take these things into consideration, or the ACS research must include this. And then development of methods or plans towards collaboration of multiple stakeholders. What are the stakeholders? Those who have stakes on the ACS. They are the stakeholders. If the researchers who have to pursue the research based on a particular region, they are also the stakeholders, because they have got some stakes on the ACS research in a particular case study area. And also the methods have to be designed to collaboratively work on the ACS for improving the capacity of the ACS if it is threatened. And then action-oriented management plans and well-being issues need more focus. The social well-being, the ecological health need more focus, and action-oriented, not only in the theoretical subjects or only in the research papers or only in the academia, but also people have to go and work, see and visualize and take part. And transdisciplinarity as an emerging frontier of ACS research. It goes beyond the interdisciplinarity and it includes everyone into consideration, being the local community, the government policymakers, the NGO partners, all researchers. They're all coming into play to understand ACS for managing or for doing good for particular ACS in a particular region. For example, in the Indian Sundarban, I don't know whether you have visited the place or not. It is a hub of many fishing activities, fish drying activities, as well as agriculture. It has a long history of its emergence. Okay, history which begins from the random travelers, then Portuguese sailors, then British masters, and now it is under the agencies of so-called forest department and fisheries department. And how the people are struggling there, what are the various risks which they have to face in the Indian Sundarbans. They have to face the risks of cyclones, frequent cyclones, sea water is warming, the mangroves are depleting, the saline water is intruding into the islands and damaging all the crops. The inland freshwater aquaculture is diseased. The fish disease, unknown fish disease is occurring. Fish stock is rapidly declining. So many challenges they are dealing with there. And to understand how they are dealing dealing with these problems and how the entire ACS is functioning there, how people are dependent on the ecology and how the ecology is dependent on the social system or the society, then we have to visit there. We have to understand each and every component or element of ACS, as well as the relationality between the actors or components, right? So this actually gives rise to the idea of transdisciplinary research. Next, Shorodip. I think there are some references, suggested readings, some of which I have already shared with you. I'll be sharing some more materials with you. Okay. So I think my discussion ends here. I really got a very little time to discuss, but no worries. Maybe we will expand on the ideas in future because there are so many readings on SES and there are so many angles to explore. And now, as I have shared with you, or Shorodip Amit has have shared with you the interactive session, where I would like to know from you some examples of ACS based on your observations or immediate surroundings. That would be great. Anybody?
Ma'am, I can make an attempt. I'm really not sure how relevant it is to SES.
No, please
So,
go on. Yeah.
for example, if we look in the US, there's a lot of culture that people are mostly non-vegetarian there. So, so this is the social aspect that people prefer to eat lots of meat and non-vegetarian food. However, what is the ecological impact of this? To get all that meat, you have to raise a lot of livestock in a very cramped amount of space.
Right.
Those livestock are living in terrible and abhorrent conditions. And so what happens is, for example, I saw a documentary where someone tried to make a burger patty using just vegan ingredients and make it just taste like a non-vegetarian burger patty. And they were fed to kids, and one of the kids said that he liked it the best. And when he was told that it was a vegan burger patty, he said, "Don't ever feed me that thing again." So I think that's a very social and cultural thing that
Yes.
he did not mind the taste. All he wanted was to eat something non-vegetarian, to eat meat.
Right.
So this is a social aspect, and I think that's really connected with. I mean, because lots of like gaseous emissions and pollution, the meat industry is a major contributor in this.
Right. Absolutely so. Very rightly put it. Yes. Of course, there are some cultural ingredients. As society is there, as we are taking social into consideration in SES, then of course there comes some cultural attributes, some political attributes to it. And how, in one way or the other, you will be able to find its linkage with that of the environment. Either there is a good relationship, and the relationship is ultimately ending up as a sort of degradation, some sort of shifts in cultural habits, etc. And also in urban context, we can see that the so-called urbanization, a so-called globalization, which are putting some image in front of us, like the global image of the city or the smart cities, which are ignoring the nature within the city. So in cities also, people are not at all separated from nature. They are dependent on nature in each and every way. Okay. And these days we are facing so many diseases, unknown and known diseases. The tendency of cancer is growing. I mean, hospitals are full of people always. So this is the combined long-term result of the pollution, ecosystem degradation in the cities itself. And also the people's perception, the perceptions of privileged people who live in tall skyscrapers, so they have some sort of visions of nature. Maybe the nature, for them, the nature is just to have a good balcony full of trees. But for some people who live in beside the sewerage canals, beside the dump sites, beside railway tracks, maybe the nature for they cannot, access the healthy nature. Not, I should not say access. They are not, they're alienated from being closer to a healthy nature. Okay. So how the city environment is shaped by the perceptions of different people based on the class, based on the, positions, economic positions in the society. That is also a thing which we also need to consider while understanding SES in the city. Anything else? Any example from you? SES can be at your home, at your, at the lane, in the street, the major street beside your house, or maybe anywhere. Smaller system, which is there within the intermediate system, and it's a part of the larger system. So it's always there around us. Yes. The socio-ecological system of Bhutan is worth mentioning. Yes, absolutely. The country plans to go 100% carbon neutral. 75% of the country is green. There are various taxes imposed on different pollutants. As a result, 91% people are happy. This might be an example of SES. Absolutely so. I also visited Bhutan, and I really liked how their, religion and collective perception to protect the environment is actually working there, and how they are very much considerate. They're empathetic to the environment, and thus they the SES there maybe is built on this kind of empathetic perception, the happiness, concern for environment. So this is a very unique form of SES, and really I feel so. Bhutan is a very very good country, I should say. I really like Bhutan. Anybody else would like to reflect something?
Ma'am, it's not related to direct surroundings, but as you had said, to like take some case study. So I went through this article on Chilka Lake, and I found that the same was there in your references in the last slide.
Yes,
So
yes.
like the rapid expansion of commercial aquaculture,
Yes.
and particularly the prawn culture,
Right.
in Chilka Lake. So it contributed to the decline of the
Yes.
fisheries, actually.
Right. Absolutely.
And also in the migratory birds population.
Yes.
Like
yes.
At Chilka Lake.
Yes. Absolutely. So it's a good example of the SES Chilka Lake, and so many people are dependent on the fishery of or within Chilika, and how these kinds of problems are affecting the lives and livelihoods of Chilika. Pradeep has used social ecological system perspective to understand different nuances, different underlying elements which are functioning together to shape the SES. And also he has tried to find out the changes which are taking place in the SES, and how they are influencing the lives of not only the people but also the non-human living beings there. So of course in this way, means I would say that SES gives us a way to holistically understand. I was telling you, means don't leave anything, it tells us, because everything is a part of the social, everything is a part of the nature. So as we cannot separate, then we must take many things into our understanding. We have to develop insights on the local values and norms. We have to develop insights on the regulations or legislature which are activating on the region. We have to know about the interdependencies of people and nature in terms of the livelihood generation, and also the food chain of the region. And also we can take into consideration the global market or the commercial businesses which are taking place, or which are for example facilitating the overfishing thing and thus declining the fish stock. So as we are taking many things into consideration as parts of the ACS, we are getting a holistic view. And then the planners, if they study ACS, they will at least try to understand from where the design, or how the what should be the measures to deal with these challenges. I mean, they will not be very much reductionist. I mean, yes, if there is the forest degradation, so let's go and impose some rules and laws, fix some boundaries, and restrict the entrance into the forest. So that will just do all. No. Whenever you are looking from the point of view of ACS, then you will also bound to understand that there are people who are dependent on the forest. So what will be the result for the people? How will they survive? Those who have done these things, that those who have been dependent on the forest for a long time, they don't have anywhere to go. There is no solution in displacement or rehabilitation, because you cannot displace or rehabilitate the cultural aspect or attachment of place for these people. So ACS tries to bring in that particular empathetic orientation. And when people will understand what are the underlying things which are going on, then they will be very much considerate in planning holistically, keeping everything in mind which are operating within the ACS. Anything else? Would you like to say something? Share your thoughts. So how are you, finding the linkage between political ecology and ACS, if I ask you? Just a brief glimpse I could give, because there is not much time. Maybe you will be, I would ask you, whenever you need that some more discussion you would like to have, then please get in touch with me. My mail ID is there. You can also interact. You can call me to know more about this particular concept, or to discuss these things with me. You are most welcome. Any example of ACS as per your observation? As everyone is from different backgrounds, your surrounding ecologies, I believe, are not similar. So you will be finding some different characteristics of ACS. Anyone would like to come up? Okay. And also I have, as you have seen the mail, I have kept some topic like ACS offers principles and understandings for designing sustainable measures to deal with contemporary environmental challenges. So you can discuss amongst yourself. Also, I can be there as a referee, and also we can discuss together. So I have shared this topic with you. The social ecological system offers principles and understandings for designing sustainable, the measure which sustains long time, to deal with the current present day environmental challenges, like as I was telling you, forest degradation, fish stock declination, urban water depletion, and then, for example, urban space deterioration or urban ecology deterioration, and then groundwater depletion, and then river system depletion or river siltation, river pollution, food chain deterioration. So many things are going on, biodiversity loss, many things are going on as an impact of the atmospheric change, global climate change specifically. And that particular change is also human induced. And these are in turn impacting upon the local, very much localized, not a very broader area. I'm talking about local settings of SES. Those who are doing, for example, the river-based freshwater fisheries, basically my research is on fisheries, so many a times I'm bringing some examples of fisheries. So if you have any other example, you are most welcome to share with me. So for example, in Malda and Murshidabad area of West Bengal, there are some tributary rivers of the large river Bhagirathi or Ganga, and that has turned into be a very unique drainage basin or river system there, because Ganga is separating from Ganga is diverging into two parts. One is Bhagirathi and Podda is going to Bangladesh, and Bhagirathi is going towards south to meet the Bay of Bengal. So in Murshidabad region, as you some of you know or some of you don't know, that there is a large dam which was constructed, and that is called the Farakka Dam. And Farakka Dam was constructed to save the Bhagirathi river in Indian Sundarbans, okay, because the siltation was immense and the river was drying up. So to artificially make the river thrive, the Farakka barrage was constructed. So they were able to, make the river survive again artificially. But why did they have to do that? The river is, coming out from the Gangotri, and there are so many dams which have been fixed over it. And it has completely damaged the usual functions of the river, completely, impacted the river system. And thus the river is behaving in a different way. The channel is shifting, the siltation is occurring on the bed of the river. The river is gradually drying up at some parts. The depth of the water has been decreasing. And those people who were dependent on the river or who are dependent on the river are in grave danger. Because as the depth of the river is decreasing because of siltation, during monsoon it is generating huge floods. So the entire, normalcy has been disrupted by the construction of dams. And one kind of, fixation are leading to another fixation, and the chain goes on. To, cover up any kind of damage, one has to, use other kind of measurements or other kind of fixation they have to impose. And thus the in the entirety, the damage is, getting intensified. So that's the case. So the river as a social ecological system there, so many people are dependent on the river. The North Bengal, or so not North Bengal, the Malda Murshidabad region has been very rich in agriculture. So how they are suffering, how the fishing activities are, dampened by this kind of interventions. So this is also another example of ACS. And this particular ACS case study is under grave endangerment. Anybody would like to reflect on this, the general discussion theme? We are running out of time. ACS offers principles. If you have any innovative idea about how a particular situation can be dealt with by using the principles or understandings of ACS, you can also discuss it with me. For a particular environmental challenge or for a particular environmental problem, how it can be dealt with the ACS principles through various innovative sustainable measures, you can please discuss. I mean, you're very much welcome to discuss about it if you have something in mind. Yes. Anybody? Come on, please, guys. I have talked with you, I mean, for a long time. So I also would like to hear something from you, whether what are the thoughts, what's going on in your head. Don't just treat it as a very much like a student-teacher interaction. Think in terms of ACS.
Ma'am,
Yes.
a small measure that can help in harvesting energy can be done right in our college. So
Mm-hmm.
in IIT Kharagpur only, where
Yes.
lots of students use cycle to go from one place to another. So what we can do
Yes.
is that we can make some batteries which can regenerate due to the mechanical energy of the cycle's rotating wheel, and that battery can be used for powering our hostel rooms and all that.
Exactly. Very good. I think it's a very innovative way. I mean, you have thought about it, and it is linking to the SES, which is there in the IIT campus. And of course, it deals with how we human beings, or how the student society, teachers society all together can, at least use this measure, or can introduce this measure to make the environment better for the environment as well as for themselves. Very rightly put it, Snigdho. So yes, we have to think, I mean, in a very small step. We have to advance in a very small step to introduce some bigger measures or some bigger steps which we can take. Absolutely. Anything else? It was about the IIT social ecological system. Anything else? I can see many of you haven't talked to me. Please go on. I would like to hear from you what you are thinking about ACS, because there are so many things to think. I know that this particular concept, you have to give time to understand this particular concept. You have to read some materials to, at least visualize what is going on. And also you have to think about it. Thinking is very important. What comes together in ACS? Thinking is very important. What we can take into consideration. This is very important. Right. And how this complexity thing is working in ACS. So we have to, discard all the reductionist approaches. That is the thing, means there is no division within the art. We have to first realize it. We cannot separate one thing from another. You know, scientists and also social scientists, anthropologists say that human beings carry genes of some of another human being who have, you know, thrived in a very distant place. I mean, long time back. Maybe we will not be having any trace of it. So we are not a single piece, to be to put it very crudely. We are not something separate as an individual human being, or also as a society. Somehow we are linked in a complex way, in such a complex way that it is impossible to, you know, envision the phenomena, envision the situations, the contexts, the dependencies separately. Okay, that's where the complexity lies. And when the system accepts this complexity and adapts to any kind of changes and self-organize, then of course it is a very much strong social ecological system. Of course, all the social ecological systems adapt in one way or the other, but the capacities may differ depending on how fragile or how divisive this is in the society or in the integrated society environment. Anything else? Please see the topics. I think it is shared in mail with you. So Newton's worldview was very much, you know, reductionist sort of thing, by claiming that only phenomena that can be observed and quantified can be justified to exist. So Newton's worldview was supporting this. And it assumed that the phenomena are empirically, means experientially verifiable, by dividing them into different elementary parts such as atoms and electrons that can be studied and observed by means of, you know, isolated analysis, by separating the parts from the whole. But I think in that way, or the scholars of the social ecological systems and systems theory think that it will never be, you know, giving to you the fuller understanding of how the particular phenomena takes place or functions or happens. We don't need to, you know, understand different functions of the elements. Rather, we have to understand the relationships between the elements and how they are functionally linked, how they are functioning together to make up the whole. That is the idea. So it is constitutive not distinctive. That is the idea. You know, some scholars like Capra, Luisi, Barks, they are Ostrom, they are pioneer in this understanding of social ecological system. Anybody else? Anybody else? I would like to know what you are thinking. What is your opinion? So basically, Newton's idea, which served as the basis of the modern scientific approach during the 16th and 17th century, and quite after that, where was basically, you know, confronted to by the relativity theory after the 1950s by Isaac Newton, by Albert Einstein, yes. And it showed that the Newtonian principles were only valid when applied to well-defined problems, and explained the behavior of matter only under some certain stable conditions. So it was all about dealing with the stability, or bringing the systems or bringing the phenomena into equilibrium. But the relativity theory tried to, you know, counter this kind of worldview with that the relationships matter. And when there are the, you know, complexity, there is the complexity of relationship, then of course no stability, no steadiness, no equilibrium could be counted. Okay. So it's not the clock-like machine or model of nature and society. The nature and society together are full of uncertainties, unpredictabilities. And whenever people have tried to deal with these uncertainties in the manner to impose something on it, or whenever they have tried to master over it, then the problems have magnified. So many things, many underlying nuances we need to consider, many underlying relationships we need to study. For example, the entities are functioning in relation to each other. So that's where the relativity theory has played a very significant part in influencing the worldviews of that time. Right. Anything else based on these thoughts? I will provide you some materials on this historical development of SES theory, or SES as a concept, or SES as a practice. and how SES can be applied to tackle or to understand the present day circumstances and changes. Okay, come on, please. I have, shared some topics, only one topic, but also you can also share some examples from your end. You can go on. Clothes can also be considered as an example of SES, yes. As the fabric comes from various crops, it is interrelated to the agriculture, and also it is related to various industries and market where the fabric is prepared and sold. Yes, of course, Anamika. It can be considered as an example of SES. It is the SES. So various crops are, cultivated, and some communities produce fabrics from it, different types of fabrics, and thus there are some small scale industries or maybe some medium scale or large scale industries which are producing clothes from these fabrics, and many actors are involved in it. Those who are cultivating the crops, or not only crops, those who are monitoring those who are also involved in the process, and then some of the people who are extracting fabrics from it, and then some people who are also involved in weaving it, bleaching it, and some people are there who are producing clothes from it. Some people are there who are designing it. Some people are there who are trading it locally, nationally, globally. Some people are there who are using it. And there are many types of people within this community, those who are using it. Right? The users of these clothes are of various types. So see, how many actors are involved in this entire SES? How many actors are involved? And also there are infrastructural conditions where these actors are functioning. Some people are functioning at home. Some people are functioning in a very small scale cottage-based industries. Some people are dealing with the market, right? And also there are market laws and regulations and policies which are basically, controlled by the government. Then question comes, why these things will always be controlled by the government? Who will control them, and why and how? And if this is this controlling mechanism good for all? Is it, providing benefits to everybody equally? Is it just? SES also asks this type of questions, because whenever there is social, there is also political, there is also cultural, there is also the government activities which must be understood. Thank you, Anamika. It's great, everybody. Anybody else? Anybody would like to reflect on something? So you didn't tell me how the SES can contribute to design the measure to deal with contemporary environmental challenges. You can take any of the challenges and discuss. You can still go on. Or if you have any doubt, any clarifications that I need to make, please tell me. I have kept this session for our own interactions.
Ma'am,
Yes, Snigdha.
ma'am, flood control, flood control can be
Yes.
done using combat. We can combat flood control using the
Yes.
afforestation. Like afforestation reduces global warming, and we all know that global warming leads to the melting of the glaciers, and that rises the sea level, which may cause flood. So
Right.
afforestation, although indirectly, but it may solve the purpose to some extent.
Absolutely, Snigdha. Absolutely. Very rightly put it. The flood control mechanism also requires the understandings of SES, whom the floods are affecting to, and how the flood is occurring. Why is it occurring if it is occurring frequently? What are the causes behind it? And how can it be tackled? Who will be responsible for tackling the floods? And will the benefit go to everybody? Will be will there be the participation of everyone in flood controlling technique or flood controlling mechanism? So, of course, we need to think about it, and the planners also take into consideration how the flood protection measures can benefit all. It should not displace people. And also, it should be sustainable without impacting the entire ecology or entire, human habitation around it. So SES gives the basic understanding for the flood protection system, which could be taken by the planners. Or rather, I would say, not only the planners, but the inclusive committee, which will be formed by the planner, maybe the policymaker, the local people who are the victims of flood. Everybody should come together to solve this issue. Anyone else? As Snigdha has described it, we have to think in this track. This is the right track. If anybody has something in their mind, please come up with that. And also, I would suggest you to read at your free time, read about SES, then you will be able to know better, because this 2 or 2.5 hours discussion is not at all sufficient for this big concept. I mean, there are so many things to discuss. Okay, if you don't have to say something, really, then you can leave if you have class. And please get back to me if you have any question or any doubt, or if you have to clarify something from me. Please get back to me through my mail, or you can also call me, and I'll be sharing some reference materials with you, which you can study for your greater understanding of SES.
Dear students, hello. Dear students, Hello, dear students. Before leaving, we need please 8 note takers for today's sessions. Particularly for today's session, we need 8 note takers. Vaishnavi has already shared her name on yesterday, and we need 7 more students for volunteering to prepare the class highlights for this class. If you please kindly share your names with us, it will be of a great help. Okay. Who wants to volunteer, please mention your names. Otherwise, we need to pick random.
Before leaving, please mention your name. Who would like to volunteer?
Okay, Vaishnavi has already mentioned her name on yesterday's class. So we would pick randomly 7 other names and we'll let you know through email.